In what is being referred to as the largest cheating scandal in history, 11 of the 12 Atlanta teachers on trial for deliberately raising student scores on standardized tests were convicted of racketeering yesterday. The convicted were immediately arrested and face up to 20 years in prison. This is what the judge had to say.
Playing from early on, and they have made this decision, and they've not fared well, and I don't like to send anybody to jail. It's not one of the things I get a kick out of, but they have made their bed and they're going to have to lie in it.
Joining us on Skype in Atlanta, attorney J. Kevin Franks, who represented Diane Buckner Webb, one of the 11 convicted, and on FaceTime in Atlanta is attorney Sandy Wallach, who represented Dessa Curb, the only defendant to be acquitted. Gentlemen, welcome. This has been obviously very controversial in Atlanta. It's going on for a couple of years. What do you make of this? I mean, I've had teachers who reached out to me who said this was an abomination, that this hurt their reputation, but more importantly, it hurt these students because it's going to hinder them for the rest of their lives as a result of this cheating scandal.
Good morning, Roland.
Well, I think that
Sandy, one second. Go right ahead.
Okay. Interestingly enough, Roland, one of the things actually that Sandy pointed out in his closing argument was that this had a witch hunt mentality to it. There were kids who were cheated in schools, and we actually heard from educators who came in and admitted to cheating and told exactly how they cheated. The thing is that Diane Buckner Webb was not one of the people who cheated the students in this case. I believe, and I strongly believe, that she was caught up in a witch hunt mentality. There's an effort on behalf of people in the community to be able to place blame on somebody so that they could then move on. But there are a lot of cultural dynamics that are brought into play here. And I'd like to go ahead and let Sandy have a say. He and I sat next to each other.
Sure, Sandy, go right ahead, because you represented Dessa Curb, the only defendant who was acquitted, so go ahead.
Well, I think that it's not only an abomination for teachers, it's an abomination for lawyers and for justice. The way that this trial was handled, the way that these defendants were charged with RICO, brought to trial altogether, 8 months of a trial, physical, with the auditorium style, this was not justice that you would want for yourself or for your family.
So what really was the case here, Sandy and Kevin? I want to go to you, Kevin, first, because the allegations were that they profited from raising these test scores, were able to generate money for themselves, and that they were involved. When we say racketeering, that this was a plan that was planned and carried out in order to fudge the scores of these students. That's what the prosecution alleged.
I understand, and that's interesting for 2 points, Roland. First, the racketeering allegation, it ought to cast fear in the hearts of every citizen of the state of Georgia. Basically, the state argued that you did not have to have a plan. You did not have to have an intent to engage in a scheme with others to be considered a racketeer. And that was actually their argument in our case. There was no evidence presented that my client Diane had gotten together with anybody. But more importantly, specifically for her, Diane was a second-grade teacher. The state's theory was and is that the test scores the cheating occurred in order to reach targets. And interestingly enough, the second-grade test did not count toward targets. There was no way that Diane, even if she had cheated, could have caused her school to reach targets in order to be able to receive any money. And interestingly enough, Diane did not receive any money. There's no allegation that she received any money. In fact, during the trial, the state, one of the many things they spent money on, created a board to discuss how there was all this bonus money gained by teachers. And the actual amount of money that was gained by teachers in that courtroom was $4,500, Roland. $4,500.
Sandy, I want to go to you. Last question before I go to my panel, and that is, the decision has been made. The judge had the teachers taken immediately into custody. What potential jail time are they facing? I said earlier up to 20 years, but what's likely they're going to actually face?
We don't know. The judge has made clear many times since he's had the case that anyone who went to trial and was found guilty was going to face severe consequences, and that goes against everything in our Constitution in terms of exercising your rights and exercising your right to a jury trial. It's essentially what we call a tax for going to trial. What we hope for is that these folks are treated the way that we would want them to be. These are not folks that need to be in jail. These are not folks that need prison time. We certainly don't agree with the verdict, but be that as it may, these are folks who need to get on with their lives and move on. And it's not going to do anybody good for them to be sitting in a prison.
All right, Sandy Wallach as well as J. Kevin Franks, we appreciate you joining us on News One Now. Thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you.
I want to go to my panel. Julianne Malveaux, President Emerita of Bennett College for Women, Cleo Manago, behavioral health expert, Drew Elon's lifestyle and political blogger. This story got lots of attention, all across the country. And again, I've heard from a lot of teachers who said, look, I have no pity on these teachers.
Roland, it's very interesting. I agree that one should have no pity if they were cheating. And of course, they said that the financial incentives were about $4,500. The flip side of this, I have little sympathy, but I want to put it on the table, is the extent to which teachers are judged by standardized test scores, which may or may not reflect the capacity of students. Doesn't mean you should cheat, but let's just look at what's happened in the last decade with teachers. It doesn't matter about content. A lot of teachers teach to the test. So they're not worried about whether you can write, whether you can do arithmetic. They're worried about whether you can pass a test.
Well, in fact, I saw there was a photo of, it was a superintendent in Texas posted a photo earlier this week where they had no classes for the whole week. He took a photo of their big billboard. They had no classes for the whole week to prepare for the test.
Right.
And he said, this is absolutely illogical that you cancel class to prepare for the test. I gotta go to a break. Hold on one second. We're gonna pick up on this when we come back. We also will talk about this New Jersey University dropping Common as the commencement speaker. The students wanted him to speak, but police officers protested and were mad because of a song he made 15 years ago. We'll explain that to you. Also, Melanie Fiona and Hyundai have joined forces to fight pediatric cancer. Plus, Ricky Smiley talks smack, and Yolanda Adams gives out fashion advice in our Stellar Award preview. 8 after the hour, News One Now on TV One.